How many of you have struggled to study the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, because of all of the names in the story of his life? It can be so overwhelming. Trust me, I've been there, and I'm going to tell you how I got through it. Assalamu alaikum, my friends. Welcome back to another episode. Today I want to continue the conversation we were having yesterday about what I like to call the Abu Bakr coaching plan, right? Or the ABC plan. A, Abu, B for Bakr, and C for coaching. And it's as simple as the ABCs. And remember, that plan, it came from a place of I'm struggling to get to the Qur'an. Everything I'm trying to do, I just keeps getting stopped and slowed down in the very beginning of my journey into the Qur'an from cover to cover. And what I took away from this kind of thought experiment I did, where I was having a conversation with Sayyidina Abu Bakr, may God be pleased with him, what I got from that is Sayyidina Abu Bakr would say to me, don't go to the Qur'an, just be with the Prophet, and when you're with him, the Qur'an will come to you. And I told you that I started with this book by Martin Lings named Muhammad, His Life Based on the Earliest Sources. And I want to tell you a little bit about my journey with this book. See, this book is just an absolutely incredible book. It is such a richly written, detailed book. It's one of those kinds of books that when you read it, you feel like you are in this world of 7th century Arabia. You forget where you live, you forget what time it is, and you just feel like you are living alongside other people. And one of the things that makes that Martin Lings does to make that so possible is he just puts so many details in this book that you feel like you're one of the people in this movie scene. Now, as you read the book, immediately what will come to your attention is the amount of names in this book. And I'll just give you an example of that. If I open up to, page 6, just in the very beginning here we go. And if we go to page 6, I've already highlighted here, you'll see all of these names here of people. Quraysh, Khuza'a, Hulayl, Qusay, Zuhra, Taym, Makhzum, Quraysh, Qusay, Abdul Manaf, Abdul Dar, Quraysh, Abdul Manaf, and then you have Abdul Dar, and it just goes on and on and on. And the names can get pretty overwhelming, okay? And on top of that, there's not a lot of connections or diagrams that show you how people are related to each other. So in this book, there's actually only one family tree and one diagram. Very kind of just big picture. They don't go into any details of how people are related to each other. Now, I'll tell you an interesting tidbit actually. There are so many people named Abdullah in this book. For those of you who have tried to read this book, there are actually 22 people named Abdullah. It's almost comical, and I'll flip to the glossary so you can take a look at this. Take a look at all of these names of people here in blue. From here all the way down to here, you have 22 people named Abdullah. And it's like, how do you keep track of all of these people? And there's actually a gentleman named Abdullah who has a son, and guess what he names his son? Yeah, he names him Abdullah, of course. So you have an Abdullah ibn Abdullah, or Abdullah the son of Abdullah. And so it's just like, oh my gosh, I was getting confused and I was struggling. Like I told you, I was having a roadblock with the Qur'an right here, and I was just kind of like, I can't get through this book. And so I was like super excited because I felt like maybe I found the user's guide to the user's guide, as like I like to call the Abu Bakr coaching plan, which is to know the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. But now, boom, I'm hitting a roadblock with this book too. So how do I get through all of these names? And so one of the things that I want to tell you guys is because this is what happened to me, okay? And I think that when I go and speak and I tell people, my journey, I think it resonates with a lot of people who have tried to study the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is that when you see all of these names, I started out, I had like a notebook with me, and I'm like, I'm going to take notes and like know all this material and master it. And then by like page 6, I'm just like overwhelmed by the names and decide, what? Forget it. That was a great intention, but it's just way too many names, and I'm not going to be able to know all of these. Let me just go for the gist of it. Let me just see if I can just kind of figure out what is the overall story. And I might know who people are, but I know who the Prophet Muhammad is in this play. Well, let me tell you guys right now, that is one of the biggest mistakes that you can make when you're trying to study the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Okay, you cannot understand who he is if you try to just go for the gist of it and just have this understanding of faceless companions who are around him. Okay, because a lot of times for a lot of people, their experience studying the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, their experience sitting in a Friday sermon, their experience sitting in any lecture or just listening to any materials, that when anyone says a name of a companion, okay, Talha came to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Maimuna came to the Prophet Muhammad. The Prophet Muhammad talked to Hafsa. Or you can say, and especially not like the more common companions, but anyone else, right? Abdullah ibn Maktoum came, and all of these names, it's just like blank face for most of us, right? That was my experience. It's like, I don't know who you're talking about. So it's just like this, I can just imagine this person dressed in like some white robes or something. It probably has a beard, a little, maybe a little sunburned because he lives in Arabia, or she does. But other than that, it's like faceless person. The face is a blur. They walk on set. They interact with the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. They talk to him, and then they walk off set. And then the next person comes on set, to interact with the Prophet Muhammad, and walk off set, never to be seen again. So you have the Prophet Muhammad, who is right here in the middle of this movie, this set, and then you have these companions that come into his life for like 5 seconds, interact with him, and then they move on, never to be seen again. You don't know if they come back around and then talk to him again. And so you never see any growth, because you can't keep track of who's who. You can't keep track of, oh, this person talked to him 5 years ago, and now look where he is now. So you lose track of all of these people who are around the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And I'm telling you guys right now, you can't afford to do that, because if you do that, like, one of the most important parts of this entire story of his life is completely missing from your experience. Let me try to explain this to you in a way that I think is helpful. Imagine for a second that I am trying to teach you about an artist. Like, pretend like we're not talking about Muhammad today. Pretend we're talking about, I'm doing this vlog or this series, and I'm trying to bring famous artists to you, right? Or movie stars or someone like that, right? So imagine today's episode, we're going to be talking about Van Gogh, Vincent van Gogh, the famous artist, right? Now imagine if you're sitting here, you're excited, you want to learn about Van Gogh, and I say, you know what, let me tell you about Van Gogh. Van Gogh was a Caucasian, he had pale skin, he kind of had a stubbly beard and part of his ear missing, he had penetrating blue eyes, and he had kind of a slim face. That's who Van Gogh is. Right? And that's like my talk, right? You'd be like, what are you talking about? What kind of talk is that, right? Because what are you expecting if I come and tell you about Van Gogh? And maybe it's not Van Gogh. Maybe it's an artist that you know, Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan. Maybe it's Tupac or LeBron James or Michael Jordan. I'm telling you about some famous person and why they are famous, right? They're not famous. Like, Van Gogh is not famous for what he looked like, his outward appearance, right? What makes Van Gogh famous, and what you would be expecting, is for me to actually show his artwork. Right? Oh, this is the Starry Night. This is an example of pointillism. This is an example of his genius and how he took this skill set or this technique, and he developed it, and he grew it, and he mastered this. Look at this, and then check out how this compares to this other piece over here, and so forth. You would expect me on a lecture about Van Gogh to primarily, I might say a little bit about his life and his personal story, but ultimately it's really about his artwork. That's what Van Gogh is about. Similarly, if I'm talking about LeBron James, I'm going to explain to you how tall he is and how much he weighs, but really, I should be showing you footage of his amazing plays, because that's really what makes this person special, and that's what we're all here to see. So in the same way, just like Van Gogh is an artist, I firmly believe in my heart that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is one of the greatest artists. And his artwork was not, canvases of art. His artwork was certainly not, to be clear, his artwork was not the Qur'an, right? So the Qur'an, Muslims believe, just kind of as a little preliminary thing here, Muslims believe that the Qur'an was given to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, just like, for example, the 10 Commandments was given to Moses. So Moses wasn't like the person who wrote out the 10 Commandments and chiseled it into stone. That's not his work. That's not his artwork. That's God's artwork. Moses just brought God's artwork to the world. In the same way, Muslims believe that Muhammad, peace be upon him, just like Moses, peace be upon him, brought the Qur'an to the world. So the Prophet Muhammad can't take any credit for the Qur'an. That's what Muslims believe. He did not write this. He just relayed the message. But that being said, the Prophet Muhammad did in fact have incredibly powerful artwork. And his artwork was the companions. Okay, his artwork, his craft was the craft of transformation. His craft was the craft of taking an individual wherever they are, whatever they came with, whatever baggage they came with, right? Whatever excellence they came with, whatever challenges, right, or drawbacks that they came with, and making that person whole and complete, and giving them the opportunity to rise to their greatest potential. And the prophets primarily really cared about helping every individual reach their highest potential. Okay, so I'll give it a kind of a simple example here. Let's pretend this is a canvas of the Prophet Muhammad. So unlike being an artist, the Prophet Muhammad would take a companion like this. Let's take a clean piece of paper here. The Prophet Muhammad would take a companion, pretend this is a companion, and he would just draw just an incredible piece of art like this, all right? And this was his artwork. So he would take someone who was maybe a blank canvas, and he would make them beautiful, and they would be attractive, and other people would see the canvas of a companion. They'd be like, oh, I want this too for myself. Now, what's interesting about the Prophet Muhammad and all of the prophets, unlike an artist who can just start with a beautiful blank canvas and just kind of start from scratch and just do whatever they want, the prophets didn't get to start from scratch and just have perfect pieces of paper. A lot of people who came to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, came to him like this. They had histories to them, right? They were crumpled. They were imperfect. Some of them had even rips in them. Some of them had even pieces of their life missing or detached, right? They had difficult lives. People had tough lives. Like in the example of Jesus, peace be upon him. Some of them were lepers, right? Some of them were blind. Some of them couldn't see. And all of the prophets, their greatest artwork was in how they helped transform the human condition, how they took one individual, each individual at a time, whether it was a perfect canvas like this, right? Or even more challenging, an imperfect soul like this, right? And every prophet, step number one is that they would take every single person who came to them. They would never turn someone away and say, oh, you know what, you're too tattered, you're never going to make it. Just next, like, you know what, next. Because they didn't pass anyone off. They never passed anyone off. They saw the full potential of everybody. So they would take a human being who was ripped and tattered like this, and they would first and foremost, incredibly gently, just spread them out. Now this person, whoever this canvas is right here, how do you think this person feels right now? He feels, you know what, there's a whole chunk of my life that's missing. I've been cheated, I've been robbed. This relationship has cut me in half. You know, I'm sure there are people like you out there, like, and I've experienced this myself, where you just feel like, you know what, I'm just like ripped in half right now. Whatever just happened to me, this relationship that ended, or, you know, the challenge that I'm having with my parents, or my child is running away from home. They don't want to be around me anymore. You feel like your life that used to be so beautiful has just ripped in half, and you're in pieces now. And you don't know how you're going to put this stuff back together. Well, there are so many people like that around the life of the Prophet Muhammad. Life, you know, it's something that Dr. Jackson said to me one time, and it'll always stick with me. He's like, Raj, you have to remember, life is just so messy. And it was just as messy then as it is now, right? Illegitimate children, strained relationships, people who are, you know, cheating other people, and financial issues, and whatever, prejudice, everything is going on just like it's going on now. It was going on then. So you have people who are not feeling whole, they feel incomplete. And step number one of the prophets, for the most part, was that they would take these people, they'd welcome everyone into their arms. Even if there was one piece here and one piece here, they'd help them find the third piece. There's another piece of you that's missing, you don't even realize it, but I found it. And then what they would do, very carefully, is just help people realize that they are whole and complete. They are beautiful and beloved. And so they'd take their kind of spiritual loving tape, as it were, and they'd remind them how special they were, and then they would tape them back together again, right? They would help people become whole. They would help people become complete. And this is a real problem that we have in our age today, where we have people who are we have forces that are constantly trying to tear people apart. I mean, just take racism, for example. The idea that racism is like this program to make people not feel human, to make people feel subhuman, and to doubt their own humanity and their own self-esteem, right? Or if you can just take sexism, or if you look at, for example, what advertising does to people and how they feel about their bodies. People have body dysmorphic disorder. They feel so horrible. I'm so fat, and why can't I be as skinny as this model that I'm seeing on Vogue or on this? It's all these forces that are tearing people and their psyches and their feelings of well-being. The prophets would not stand for that. So they gently, very gently, they mended people like this. They put them back together again, and they would find even the missing pieces and remind them that, look, you are not incomplete. You are, in fact, very complete, and I'm going to help you get yourself back together again. Because you can't really transform someone if you don't first give them a sense of who they are, right? You can't be somebody, you can't achieve your full potential if you first don't feel whole and complete as an individual. And so the prophets, first and foremost, would use their incredible technique. I mean, I'm talking about Prophet Muhammad here, peace be upon him, but one of his greatest coaches was the Prophet Jesus. And the Prophet Jesus, peace be upon him, this was one of his most salient features. This is his ability to take broken souls and mend them and put them back together so that they would feel whole again. And he would go to the people who everyone else avoided, and he would dive into them. Right? And the people would dive into his arms, because he would do this incredible thing where he would make them feel whole again. And now, once people are whole, then the prophets, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, peace be upon all of them, they would take them and then they would do their artwork. They would show them, this is how beautiful you are. Don't think that you're not pretty, because we're going to make an incredible canvas out of you. I don't know why I keep drawing boats here, but it's just kind of simple, right? And then they would draw a boat like this, and the sun would be right here, and they would make these people feel special again, right? This is what the prophets would do, as they would draw artwork like this, okay? And I'll tell you right now, in my own personal opinion, to me personally, between this right here and this right here, to me, this is far more beautiful than this, because there's so much more that went into creating this and to rebuilding this that you didn't have to do with this. And these stories are the compelling stories. These are the stories that are our stories, because a lot of us are bruised and bleeding on the side of the road. A lot of us are hurt and feeling, not whole. We're feeling incomplete. And this is what the prophets did, peace be upon them. They would take any canvas. It could have been paper, it could have been cloth, cardboard, whatever you're made out of. They would mend us and they would bring us back together. And so in many ways, the story of Muhammad, peace be upon him, is a story of transformation. It's a story of making things beautiful and bold and powerful again, which is exactly what God told Adam is the purpose of guidance. Revelation will come down. And if you follow this, you will not fear, nor will you grieve. You'll live presently, beautifully, powerfully in the present. And that's what the prophets are showing. So in all of this, what I'm trying to say is that if you try to study this, but you have no concept of this, you don't get to see the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, his greatest hits. You don't get to see the Prophet Jesus, peace upon him, his best dunk shot, his greatest layup. You don't get to see Moses and his artwork. You don't get to see all the artwork of the prophets. You don't get the prophets. You don't get the point, right? That's at least I didn't get the point. And it's only until I realized that they were in the business of transformation that I realized, oh, they weren't just, messengers who were just bringing something and like a mailman delivering something. No, they were in the business of bringing something, but also using that to not only transform themselves through example, but then showing other people how to transform themselves. And they were so good that they turned the people that they transformed into coaches who could help transform other people. So that's how powerful it was. It was this perpetuating kind of system, right? where you have all these people who are now forces of transformation in the world, and that's why it propagates like this supernova, just expands over the land. People are just so beautiful, and now you have this whole generation of beautiful artwork because everyone is feeling transformed by this powerful messenger who brought back the art of achieving the highest potential, achieving human transformation. So that is the story of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in terms of understanding who the companions are around him. And that's why I'm telling you guys right now, I will not let you, if you're going to watch this series, I'm not going to let you not know the companions. This is like so important to me. But we still don't have, you know, a solution to the issue of what do we do with all of the names in this book? What do we do with all of these highlights right here? How do we get through this? And I still was struggling with this issue of how do I get through all of these names right here, right? How am I going to know all this stuff? Because it just still seems overwhelming, but I really want to know it. And what I want to share with you in the next episode is this one moment, and it's just like this incredible moment in my life where something just snapped for me, because I was like at this roadblock where it's like I have an idea of what I want to do, but I still don't know how I'm going to do this. And there was this one very, very specific 20 seconds in my life which really changed everything for me, and I often credit as the moment that truly kicked off the journey of revelation and starting to write this book. But I am obviously not going to tell you about that today. That's going to be in the next episode. I'll tell you about that moment. In the meantime, thanks so much for being a part of this. I really, really appreciate you being here with me. And for those of you who've stuck it through to the end of this video, here's the secret. Go to my website, therevelationexperience.com. Log in and you will get access to the entire audio series, the Revelation Experience audio series, where I will walk you through my book, right? This is a pretty big book. It's over 400 pages. I will walk you through that. You'll have free access to over hundreds of episodes where I will walk you through this book. You don't have to read this book. I actually like my audio series better than my written book because it's alive, it's more powerful, it's personal, and I have incredibly beautiful Qur'anic recitation interwoven into it. So go to that website, therevelationexperience.com, log in, and start enjoying that experience of coming to the Qur'an. So anyway, can't wait to see you guys in the next episode. It is only going to get better from here. We're going to be talking about what's in this book and my journey. I will see you guys soon. Assalamu alaikum.